Once my grandma Chona almost made me want to strangle her out of anger because I went to her house and she asked me to set up her new smart TV so she could watch her soap opera. But as soon as I turned it on, I felt like I was hacking NASA because it had like 33,000 apps open. And I asked her, "What did you do to the TV, Grandma?" And she calmly says to me, "Well, I just pressed where it said accept all, and then the soap opera starts playing in Mandarin." So I spent like 3 hours setting up the TV, looking for tutorials and racking my brain, and in the end I left it perfect. But my grandma looks at me and says, "Oh no, just put on the old TV for me, that one works." One time I was traumatized for life because of my mom, because my aunt Petronila had given me 10,000 pesos, supposedly for being a good boy. And I spent it on a really cool bike, one of those that even looks like it can fly. And one day I get home, really happy, wanting to fly on my bike. And my mom says to me, "Son, they stole your bike." And I all freaked out say, What, how, when, where, why, for what, at what time? But my dad, all nervous, confessed the truth to me, and it turns out my mom had tried to ride it, and she crashed hard into a curb, and the bike ended up bent like a spring. And since then, I hide all my things far away from my mom for safety. Once when I was a kid, I had a doorbell at my house that would electrocute people because that doorbell, instead of announcing visitors, would fry them. And one day, my buddy Panzas came over to my house to play PlayStation. So the guy, all confident, goes and rings the doorbell and he gets stuck to the button, all shocked. But since I was inside, I heard a scream coming from outside. I looked out and I saw Panzas all hyperactive dancing against the gate. And I said, "Damn, this guy really came with all the energy." But then I go outside and I see that he was stuck to the button and he looks at me and yells, "Help, it's sucking the life out of me." So I go over and give him a karate kick to get him off. And the good thing is I noticed, otherwise Panzas would have gone to meet the Virgin Mary. Once when I was born, I cried a lot during the first hour, and my dad thought I had been born sick, and he used a masterful technique to make me stop crying. When I was in my mom's belly, he would often say to me, "Papi, papi, papi chulo, papi, 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 papi precious." So that day, November 1st, which is my birthday, since I wouldn't stop crying, he asked the doctor if everything was okay, and she said yes, that it was normal. But then since he didn't want me to cry, he said to me, "Papi, papi, papi chulo, papi, papi, papi precious." And he told me that at that moment I stopped crying and opened my eyes wide.
Doing the things that I never would know. Treat me like what.
Once when I was 13 years old, I was invited to a party because it was my friend Tololochi's birthday. And when it was time for the piñata, we all started taking turns hitting it, but then Tololochi's dad said, "Now it's my turn." And since the piñata was already busted, he hit it with a stick and all the candy flew out. I dove onto the floor to grab as much candy as I could, and I did it. But I had so much candy that there were kids who would even stick their hands in my butt just to grab some candy. But in the end, they took all my candy, and from having more than 200, I was left with a lollipop, 2 broken candies, and 4 pieces of gum.
Call the police! They're killing me!
Once when I was a kid, I thought I was going to lose my legs because I did 100 squats in a row. I was 11 years old and thought I was chubby. So I thought that if I did 100 squats, I would get skinnier, but it didn't work that way. So I started 1, 2, 4, 6, 49, 60, 100. But when I finished, I tried to walk and I fell flat on my face because my legs were ridiculously tired. So I stayed there, lying on the floor, not feeling anything from the waist down, afraid I might be paralyzed. Once, my Uncle Pity bought his son Esteban a poor old cell phone called Cacahuatito Jr. because the boy cried about wanting a cell phone, being the only one at school without one and getting bullied. However, after he got a new phone, he was with his friends at school. He says, "Look at that horrible cell phone," then yells at the boy who owns it, "Throw it away, it'll explode in your hand." But then his friends tell him, shut up, yours is even worse." Then the other boy came over and told him they should both throw their phones on the ground at the same time and whoever's broke would lose. And Esteban had a lot of faith in Cacahuatito Jr. So he threw his phone, and when it hit the ground, there wasn't even a molecule left, while the other phone didn't have a single scratch.
Well, bye, man.
Once when I was 7 years old, a man ran me over with his bike and rode the bicycle over my whole body up to my chest. And the old man didn't care because I had gone to the little store for a Coke and a kilo of tortillas. But the old man was on the sidewalk and I hadn't seen him. I just felt the hit. But instead of helping me, the man says, "Stupid kid, why did you get in the way?" But I didn't really interfere. In the end, he just rode off on his bike like nothing happened. Luckily, the man was skinny as a bone. Otherwise, who knows how many ribs he would have broken. One time my parents bought me an Xbox and a Kinect because I was fat and I had an event in Mexico City and they had already bought me the clothes. But since I was fat, the clothes didn't fit me, so they wanted me to use the Kinect to exercise. So I got really disciplined. I even said the girls won't even recognize me, and I tried on the clothes here in my city and they fit me. But when I traveled to Mexico, I wanted to put them on and I was already swollen because Mexico City is a high altitude city and that made me swell up. And because of that, I got traumatized about my weight and I told my parents, I'm a fat pig about to give birth.
Adolf Hitler, 4143, sieh weit hinter dem Kampf, Aristoteles.
Once when I was a kid, I would put my dog's eye gunk in my eyes because my grandma told me that dogs could see ghosts and invisible people. So I wanted to see them too. I grabbed my dog and said, "Mickey, give me your eye gunk." Put it on, but didn't see anything. So I said, I guess I have to wait for it to work, but it never worked. And I ended up getting an eye infection for not having any brains and believing it. One time, it was my dad's birthday and I bought him a really cool karaoke system because he likes to sing in his room. On his birthday, I said, "Here dad, a present for you." And I was really nervous because I was thinking to myself, I hope he knows what it is because it cost me 4,000 pesos and then he saw it. And he got really excited and thanked me, but then he turned to look at me and said, "Son, thank you so much really, but what the heck is this?" And at that moment, I knew that 4,000 pesos had gone down the drain. When I was 7, I woke up having wet myself on a new mattress my parents bought me since I often wet the bed as a child. But that day, I was already dreaming that I really needed to pee, but in the dream, there was no bathroom where I was. But then when I got up around 3 in the morning, I saw and realized that it wasn't just a dream, but that in real life, I had peed myself too. And my parents punished me for peeing myself and made me sleep on the floor for a week for being dirty.
Mama, I'm a criminal. Mama, I'm a criminal. Mama, I'm a criminal. Mama,